Today I'm going to show you 10 super saloons that you can buy for under £20,000. It's as simple as that. Let's get straight into the video. Hit like for some more videos like this, subscribe as well if you do that probably. Let's get straight into it. The R division of VW has been responsible for some of the coolest, best looking and fastest production VWs to have hit the roads, including our first car on this list, the Passat R36. Just as you had the Golf R32, the R36 Passat took that same formula but applied it to the saloon and estate Passats with an ever so slightly larger engine, a 3.6 litre VR6 which puts out 295 brake horsepower, taking it to 60 in 5.4 seconds, meaning it's the only car on the list that takes longer than 5 seconds to get to 60. It's not just the engine, the aesthetic looks similar to the Mark V R32 as well, with the chrome grille and then the more angular body styling all around, plus the more aggressive R-spec interior. It's not a car that you see often out on the roads, given that across saloons and estates there are 124 registered in the UK right now. They'll run you around 13k at the bottom end though, and generally as they're pretty rare they can be pretty difficult to find. Engine chains, mechatronic ECU for the DSG and the electronic handbrakes are three more common issues with these that I could find on forums. In terms of cult followings, of all 10 cars on this list, the Mitsubishi Lancer Evo might have the largest, in this case being the Evo 8. It arrived just as Mitsubishi took a sabbatical from the World Rally Championship that had thrust these cars into the public eye here in Europe under the supervision of Tommi Mäkinen, who won 4 straight World Championships in them. For some this is a bit of a turn-off, but that doesn't reflect in price really, as the Evo 8 remains pretty well sought after and expensive all in, given they start at our 20k limit for this video. It comes with a 2 litre turbocharged inline-4 engine, making 305 brake horsepower, taking it to 60 in 4.9 seconds, which is helped of course by the fact that it's all-wheel drive for rally application. There are so many specs of these to buy into, but we're looking at the FQ300 model for our 20k here in the UK, and the most potent models went all the way up to the 405 brake horsepower mark, which is pretty berserk out of a 2 litre turbo inline-4. It's also said that FQ is meant to stand for effing quick, but that's never been confirmed by the brand themselves, and remember that these are appreciating classics now anyway, so treat them as such. I think the Vauxhall VXR8 might be one of the biggest head turners on this list, as it's not often you get an Aussie V8 supercars inspired car out on the roads here in the UK. It is of course a rebadged Holden Commodore for the UK market, which followed on from the Monaro, both of which had their own cult following away from their home down under. From late 2009 these switched from an LS2 to an LS3 block, meaning they come with a 6.2 litre V8 engine, producing 424 brake horsepower, taking them to 60 in 4.9 seconds, which is not bad at all for a Vauxhall. Sadly these ended up running out of steam in the end, with Holden's factories closing down in Australia leading to their demise, but they are some properly cool muscle cars still for their money, in a time where Vauxhall were putting out some pretty sick cars broadly, like the VX220 as well. If you're after one, you need to spend around £15,000 at the bottom end, and 20k is enough for a 2009 model with 100k on the clock. Some have suffered clutch and gearbox issues, but broadly these have genuinely been pretty solid according to forums. Back to the Northern Hemisphere now with the Maserati Ghibli S, and yes, plenty of people have besmirched the Ghibli for its poor reliability reputation, but the engine it has is pretty special. It's the Ferrari F160, which you won't actually find in any Ferraris, but it was built by them and tested to their liking before being chucked into a bunch of Maseratis. That engine is a 3 litre twin turbocharged V6 block, producing 404 brake horsepower, taking the car to 60 in 4.8 seconds, which again is pretty good for an executive saloon under 20k. The Ghibli nameplate had previously been retired back in 1998, so revival in 2013 meant a return to the mid-size luxury car class for the brand. It's basically the plaything of execs who don't want a typical German offering, and in S-spec it is just that bit more performant than the standard car, with original versions getting hydraulic power steering as well. These start at around the 13k mark, and for 20k we'll be looking at a 2014 model with around 60,000 miles on it. They are known for pretty bad build quality though, and maintenance costs look pretty aggressive from what I can see on forums. Next up we have a car that I drove very recently. You should definitely check out the review I did after this video on the B7 Audi RS4. I'll give you a little spoiler though, it absolutely blew me away with how fast, how fun and how involved the driving experience was. Part of that experience was down to its lovely naturally aspirated 4.2 litre V8 engine, which makes 414 brake horsepower, taking it to 60 in in 4.6 seconds, which, as I mentioned in that review video, almost completely matches the E92 M3. Not only was it a pleasure to drive, I think the saloon actually looks great too. It gives proper 2000s DTM vibes with its wide wheel arches and vents jutting out of the bumpers. I honestly thought it was going to be a bit boring to cruise around in, but it was far from it. A genuinely great car for people that enjoy proper analog feeling cars. They'll run you around £16,000 at the bottom end, and 20k will get you a 2007 model with around 80k on the clock. Brakes are known to warp, carbon buildup is known, and there are a few other consistent themes to be aware of on them. So I hope you guys are enjoying this video. If you are, then do hit the like button and subscribe as well if you're new, and let me know in the comments down below, what is your personal favourite current, up-to-date super saloon? Mine has to be the Alfa Romeo Giulia GTA M. I'd love to hear your thoughts. On to the top 5 now, and in 5th we have the Lexus ISF, which was Lexus' answer to cars like the BMW M3 and Mercedes C63 AMG. But what made it special is that the chief engineer had also previously been involved in the Toyota Supra's development, and it debuted alongside the hallowed LFA as the cheaper saloon alternative, but with the same spirit behind the build. That's why it came with such an aggressive engine, a 5-litre V8 which makes 417 brake horsepower, taking it to 60 in 4.6 seconds, matching the RS4, though somehow I feel like the ISF is just a bit more exotic, mostly because of how different it is to other cars on the market. But it's also different to other Lexuses, as it wasn't designed by their standard team, but by a rogue set of individuals who were given the power to design and build the car however they saw fit, unlike anything you typically expect from Lexus. These are listed anywhere from around the 13k mark, and for 20k you'll get yourself a 2008 model that's done around 100,000 miles. Reliability is great, but non-engine electrics have posed a few issues longer term. The Volvo S60 is not the first car you think of when it comes to super saloons, but the T8 clearly has pretty ridiculous performance considering it takes 4th place on this pretty aggressive list of super saloons. The S60 T8 might look a bit minimalist, a bit unassuming, but that's just what Volvo are good at, making sleeper cars. That said, I still think it's a great looking car with the modern Volvo design language, with the Thor's hammer headlights being quite appealing to me at least. And the powertrain in the T8 is just absurd. It's a 2-litre twin-charged inline-4 with electric power too, making a combined 384 brake horsepower, taking the car to 60 in 4.5 seconds, and when I say twin-charged, I mean turbo and supercharged, which is pretty rare nowadays. They'll cost you anywhere from around the 13k mark right now, not bad for the newest car on the list, and at 20k we'll be looking at a 2020 model that's done around 75,000 miles. High voltage coolant heaters are a key failure on these that cause Volvo and owners some headaches, and outside of that the main gripe is that the powertrain is too complicated for easy maintenance or repair work. We're onto a certified future classic car now, in fact a car that has already been increasing in price pretty significantly over the past few years, the E60 BMW M5, which is one of the most special M5 generations you can actually buy nowadays. It comes with a stunning F1 inspired great sounding 5-litre V10 block, which makes 499 brake horsepower, taking it to 60 in 4.5 seconds, and for me, because of that engine and the prowess of the M5 badge, this is rapidly becoming a bit of a baby exotic car. This is a car that has generally been pretty bad in terms of reliability reputation, and of course there's no smoke without fire, the red cog of death regarding the SMG gearbox for example. However, I've met quite a few E60 owners recently, and generally they've been pretty happy with how reliable their cars are. It's just happened to enough people that it's become a theme, similar to the IMS bearing failure in 2000s Porsches. £16,000 is enough to get you into one of these now, and they were sub 10k just a few years ago, and for £20,000 you'll be looking at a 2008 model with around 80,000 miles on the clock. Just missing out on the top spot, we have a saloon that is very different to everything else on this list. It's the Bentley Continental Flying Spur Speed, which is a full-size luxury car that is also supposed to be insanely powerful and fast. That performance comes from its 6-litre twin turbocharged W12 engine, which makes 601 brake horsepower, 50 more than the standard Flying Spur, meaning it will do 0 to 60 in 4.5 seconds and to a top speed of 200 miles per hour. That is genuinely insane. You're getting yourself a car that will do 200 miles per hour without modifications for under our 20k limit, although it is worth noting that these literally start at that limit, so the only way is up if you want one with fewer than 80,000 miles on the clock from 2010. And just think, you could be driving along a German autobahn at 200 miles per hour in the highest level of luxury this list can offer, with adaptive air suspension and continuous damping control for a smooth ride, plus all the trimmings of that lovely plush interior. It's a bit of a land yacht, but that's exactly what you want in the world of luxury cars. Everyone talks about the reliability of that W12, genuinely it's not an unreliable engine at at all, but if it does go wrong, good luck. Taking the top spot on this list is the Mercedes C63 AMG, with arguably the best powertrain of any C63 we've ever seen. It's definitely among the best sounding, and all in, the W204 generation car was properly good looking in its saloon spec. With more recent versions, I've pretty much only ever been interested in the coupes, where the W204 saloon just does something right. Now that engine is a 6.2 litre V8 block, which makes 450 brake horsepower, taking the car to 60 in a list-topping time of 4.4 seconds, which for sub 20k is very decent performance. One of its main rivals was the RS4 I mentioned previously, and in terms of out-and-out pace, it clearly was faster. It also beats the M3 as a rival too in terms of pace, but genuinely between the three, I would choose on which one makes you tingle the most, not on which is the fastest, as it is all much of a muchness. These are special though, given that they were the first ground-up AMG cars you could buy, as opposed to being AMG modified, plus they've got a pretty good reliability record too. These start at around £12,000, making the C63 the cheapest car on the list, and at 20k you'll find a 2011 example that's done around 60,000 miles. So that's 10 super saloons that you can buy for under £20,000. Thank you very much for watching, and thanks to patrons as well for their support. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below, and go check out this video on screen right now.